Why we have Kathleen here today is to talk about an event coming up. And if any of you women out there watching right now, thinking about doing something on International Women's Day, because that's coming up on Wednesday, this might be the event for you. So Kathleen, what's happening on Wednesday? What do we have going on Wednesday?
So Wednesday is March 8th, as you said, is International Women's Day. It's the day of also an International Women's Strike. And it's put together by the women who initially did the Women's March on Washington, so it's a part of that action. And what it will look like in Huntsville is we're asking that all women who want to participate, they strike from paid and unpaid labor, so that's all volunteer work. And we're holding a rally in front of the Algonquin Theatre from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And when we're there, we'll be having, we'll have women from the community talking about what it looks like to strike, what inequality in Muskoka looks like today. Mm-hmm. And we also have singers and women from other agencies like Muskoka Prairie Sound Sexual Assault Services coming to talk to us about how different areas of inequality affect different women. So yeah, it's going to be a great event.
So this popped up on my news feed. I saw this event and I just wanted to ask you, why did you decide to kind of spearhead this event to kind of get the ball rolling here in Muskoka?
So I wouldn't say at all that I spearheaded it. Things that happen like this are very much grassroots. And so as an activist, that's something I really support. When someone in larger areas, when they run something like this, like with the Women's March on Washington in DC, when you start to see that can happen in your own town, you're just kind of like another part of that community of activists. Mm-hmm. So the reason it fell to me, I think, is just because this is so much my passion, and I'm very informed on the issues here in Muskoka, and I'm very invested in Muskoka as a community and as my home. So although I adore the way, I adore Muskoka, but there's a lot that we need to work on, and especially for women.
So, we could spend an hour here talking about that, but I guess just to give an idea of what people can expect to see and expect to hear on Wednesday, mm-hmm. Can you, one or two items or points that you can make that are issues in Muskoka that you find with women and inequality?
Absolutely. So, when people hear the word strike, they automatically think about striking from work. Mm-hmm. So what we actually have in Muskoka is a wage gap of almost 64%. So women are actually paid a huge gap, like that's 36% less that we're getting paid for the same work. And it also, and the wage gap is complicated because, women do take different times off for maternity leave and things like that. So we know that we don't have universal childcare. So we know that a lot of women who want to continue working aren't able to because childcare is more expensive than what they get paid for. So that's a major issue. We're taking women out of the workforce who want to be there. Mm-hmm. And then, another concern is the fact that there is a lot of violence in our community. So I'm a shelter worker. And I also volunteer as a survivor mentor, and I see, firsthand what it looks like when women are exposed to violence in the family and in the home, and what it means when they can no longer return to work or they're not given that sort of understanding at work. So we really just want to open up the conversation to the fact that violence is happening in Muskoka. We are not communicating about it as much as we need to be. We're doing a lot of great work through all the agencies that we have, and we're lucky that we do have them. But we have a long way to go with that. So we're closing the wage gap, speaking out about violence against women, and just making this a safer place for women to live.
And I mean, I guess one of those caveats too is just like that, for example, that recent study that came out with the Globe and Mail of the Unfounded Reports, and that must have been something that hit home and something that you really want to kind of bring in the forefront through a strike like this, right?
Absolutely. That's something that we very much want to talk about tomorrow, and that's something that I've written about.
Oh, Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. Thank you. Oh my goodness, don't show up tomorrow. Thank you. So yes, Wednesday. And I've written on this subject before because it is so important to me on the issue of rape in our community. So the fact that Huntsville has the 55% unfounded rape cases, and Bracebridge, comes in at third overall worst in Canada at 56%. And we're so high above the national average of 19%. This is totally outrageous. And the idea that, that we need to fight, that we need victims to fight so hard for their own, that they need to advocate for themselves so much when they don't know the law. This is the police's responsibility to know the law and follow it and provide appropriate services for women. And I think just like pursuing this when it comes up, rather than because unfounded means they don't believe a crime happened.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that there was no evidence, it just means they don't think it happened. And women are sort of, in our patriarchal culture, placed in a default state of disbelief of liars. And I don't like that, and I don't think it's true. I think what the study also revealed, the expose, was that women have, or rape accusations have the same statistics as a false accusation of any crime. So we have this idea that there's all these rape accusations that are used as revenge or for money, but it doesn't happen. Statistically, it's the same number of false accusations across the board for any crime. So we are treating women very differently based on outmoded myths.
And so something like this on Wednesday, and for all the women that are watching, women and girls that are watching right now, and men actually, should really come out and support the women in this kind of movement. So let's remind people again, so it's on Wednesday, it runs from 1 to 5?
1 to 5 p.m. and we're meeting in front of the Algonquin Theatre. And so for the first little bit, we're just gonna have a bit of a meet and greet and get everything set up and see what kind of audience we have. And then we have an itinerary that I'll be posting tonight, and it's just gonna have some speakers, and like I said, we have a singer coming, which will be really wonderful. That sort of bring women together in the community through song. And we also have an opportunity for women from Muskoka to come and talk about their own personal stories of inequality. So we really want to make space for women who are not experts in this, but they're experts in their own lives and stories, and they deserve an opportunity to speak.